Ghanaians mark Constitution Day, 29 years of constitutional rule, as stakeholders call for reforms in the 1992 Constitution.
Ghana Police Service to support GBC and piracy on broadcast rights of the 2022 AFCON to be held in Cameroon.
First ever interchange in the northern region to be commissioned next month.
Police begins probe into communication of prophecies by some religious bodies on December 31, 2021.
And the WHO unhappy about description of the Omicron variant as mild. Hello, good evening. You welcome to News Hour live on GBC News, the News and Governance channel on GTV and YouTube and Facebook too at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Micheline Taka.
And my name is Clara Mlano. Robert Frimpong Mansell will interpret the news into sign language. Good evening.
Today marks the 29th Constitution Day of the Fourth Republic of Ghana since the coming into force of the 1992 Constitution on January 7, 1993. The day was declared as a holiday under Section 2 of the Public Holiday Act 2001 at 601. The day is purposed to remind Ghanaians of their commitment to upholding the rule of law, constitutionalism and democracy.
The day was first observed in 2019. It is also one that sees the swearing in of new heads of state after the conduct of a general election for a new president and members of parliament. Since the constitution came into effect in 1993, the country has witnessed a successful and smooth handover of power from one political party to the other.
The National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, has called for a relook of the country's 1992 Constitution for reforms to promote participatory democracy and consolidate political gains made.
In a statement, the NCC said it would also help tackle constitutional deficits in aspects of the 1992 Constitution that seemingly bred apathy in the public, disengaged the public in major aspects of governance at both the grassroots and national levels, deepened marginalization, promoted excessive powers of the executive, and festered the cause of corruption. The Commission's statement, signed by its chairperson, Ms. Josephine Nkrumah, noted that despite the gains, strengthening the country's democracy by reforming and improving its constitutional infrastructure must be a national priority. January 7 was set aside in 2019 to commemorate the birth of the 1992 Constitution, which ushered in the Fourth Republic. The day, dubbed the Constitution Day, aside acknowledging Ghana's longest-serving constitution, also ensures that the tenets of democracy, liberty, democratic governance, rule of law, accountability, and constitutionalism are upheld.
Earlier, a governance analyst, Dr. Eric Odru Osine, joined us on phone to discuss the celebration of Constitution Day and called for a review to the 1992 Constitution.
I agree with the school of thought that requires that we review or reform the Constitution, because the current Constitution as it stands now was aimed at transiting the country from a military government to a stable, politically elected government. Then after that, we need stability. the stability in the areas of development. As it stands now, it is not a development constitution. Going into specifics, you will realize that the three arms of government are expected to take each other. That is not coming out clearly because majority or all the provisions on the executive are entrenched, whereas that of the other arms of government are not entrenched. That does not account well for development. Again, you realize that the National Development Planning Commission, which is expected to be the institute to drive development in this country, is located within the office of the president, and you realize that we've been playing politics with that institution. I would have thought that if we want to move forward by way of development, we make an independent institution so that we can have a national development agenda that is cast in stone by way of a law. However, the Constitution Review Commission made a recommendation for its review. Most of the recommendations that requires review are entrenched. And if you are to review an entrenched constitution or amend an entrenched portion of a constitution, you require a referendum. Each referendum can only take one question. And the cost of a referendum is also very expensive. So I would advocate that we review the constitution, but in the process of reviewing, if we can rewrite, let us rewrite the constitution so we can have a constitution that can help us. Ghana's hung parliament is good for democracy because of the need for checks and balances and for parliament to exercise some level of oversight as far as executive governance is concerned. The hung parliament is good, but it should not be used to the disadvantage of the country or national or nation first. They should put partisan politics aside. I would urge Parliament to know that there is a responsibility on all of them. The responsibility on the institution of Parliament is to be discharged by both NDC and
The Minister for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata, is happy with the progress of work on the first ever interchange in the northern region. The project is expected to be completed by the end of February this year, after which the President will officially inaugurate it in March. The Minister announced this on an inspection tour of road projects in the northern region.
The two-tier interchange, which is about 95% complete, is one of many infrastructure projects being financed through the $2 billion Sino-Hydro Master Project Support Agreement between the government of Ghana and the Chinese government. The Minister for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata, who inspected the progress of work on the interchange, was satisfied with the work done so far. He disclosed that the northern region will benefit from a 100-kilometer stretch of asphalted roads alone as part of the President's drive to improve on the general road network across the country.
Excellent work is being done. The contractors together, the resident engineer, the consultant, assured me every work associated with it will be completed by the end of February.
The resident engineer for the project, Mr. Emmanuel Dobuche, said the remaining works on the interchange will be completed in February next month.
We are done with the bridge. The rest of the work is down here. You can see them doing curbs. It's to define the side road, and then some of the drains will have to be reconstructed. So on the southern side, the drains are being done. They haven't gotten to the northern side yet, but they're doing the curbs and demarcation at the bottom. And we hope that all that will be done in a month.
The minister and his team also inspected the emergency works at the Tamale Industrial Road and the rehabilitation of the Global Dream Area Roads Phase 1 and 2.
A sign-off ceremony for the outgoing board members of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation has taken place in Accra. After their 2-year tenure, the board members were appreciated and celebrated for their numerous contributions made towards the growth of the state broadcaster.
The 10-member board served the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation with their diverse experience for 2 years. To appreciate and honor the board members, GBC organized a send-off event for them in Accra. Members were honored with GBC branded or customized plaques, badges, medals, TV sets, and executive gift sets. Reverend Professor Emmanuel Adobing is the outgoing board chair.
Personally, I see that we are beginning to work together, and you need to do more of this. Work together to support the DJ, so that together you lead your staff to achieve the goals which have been set for GBC.
The Director General of GBC, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, said the governing board within their 2-year mandate exceeded their expectations.
We have been able to move GBC forward. We are looking forward and praying that a good number of them will be retained in the incoming board to keep and enhance the institutional memory, and so that the continuity will not only be picked up from the reports, but will be something that they can recall and remember as they sit in the new board.
The chair of the National Media Commission, Mr. Yao Ayebuafo, encouraged GBC workers to cooperate with each other and eschew partisanship to enhance accelerated development at GBC.
If we want GBC to soar, it can only soar out of our collective work. But if we undercut each other, then GBC will be, an eagle, but it cannot fly because the wings will have been clipped. Please, help each other to help GBC, and when GBC becomes big, every one of us will be big.
A moment of silence was observed for the late Al-Haji Al-Hassan Abdullahi, who was also a board member before his demise. A member of the board, Mrs. Efuagati, thanked GBC for appreciating them for their service to the corporation. She wished GBC well in its future endeavors. For GBC News, Yaira Lawe reporting. The second edition of the Brain Battle quiz organized by the National Catholic Secretariat Education Directorate of 4 Catholic schools at the junior high school level has started in Accra. The competition aims to whip up interest of the pupils in science and math, technology and engineering, and also prepare them for the National Maths and Science quiz.
The Brain Battle quiz is in 2 categories. The STEM quiz is the first category, where students undertake practical science and experimental activities on stage. The second part is a science project called the National Junior Scientists. Students at this point are tasked to come up with science projects on selected themes such as coding and programming, recycling and solar for life. 18 schools from the 16 regions are to participate in the quiz, which starts on Friday, January 7, 2022. Winners will be selected for the quarterfinals and then to the semi-finals and the grand finals, which is slated for Sunday, January 9, 2022. The Chief Executive of Cocktail Media Production Partners in the Brain Quiz, Mr. Samuel Boaten, said the competition will equip students with knowledge in science, technology, engineering and math.
The Brain Battle quiz is the only quiz which has life science experiments on stage. We actually challenge the students. We give them a problem on the spot. We give them problems revolving around chemistry, biology, physics, applied science. We give them a mini lab, which we call the hot lab. And then we give them time to resolve the problem using the correct apparatus. We also sometimes give them coding. We will ask them to write a program. And then we would give them some time to write their program. And then the program will be tested for response to be able to ascertain if they actually wrote the right code.
A National Committee member of the Brain Battle quiz, Reverend Father Benjamin Ohene, called on the government, churches, corporate institutions and individuals to come on board and sponsor the contest.
At its early inception, we have some challenges which we hope to overcome. So we are calling on all Ghanaians, not only Ghanaians, but men and women of goodwill, to come to our aid when we appeal to them for sponsorship, so that we can get the right generation of students who are already scientifically minded, so that STEM will be taken as a serious project to move Ghana on to higher pedestals, for that science and technology, engineering and mathematics is also concerned.
The first national contest was held in 2020. The second edition should have taken place in December last year, but was rescheduled to January this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Ghana Police Service says it has begun analyzing videos of prophecies made on the night of December 31, 2021 to see if any of them were communicated in breach of the laws of the country. According to the police in a statement released on Thursday, January 6, 2022, quote, anybody found culpable will be put before the court, unquote. The police ahead of 2021 Watch Night and New Year church services cautioned against a communication of prophecies that had the potential to cause fear and alarm to the public or endanger lives, while commending the public and religious groups in particular for their support and understanding. The police says notice of multiple video footages have come to their attention regarding the communication of prophecies. Meanwhile, the police say the law on publication of information, including prophecies that have the tendency to cause fear and panic or puts people's lives in danger, is not limited to December 31 nights only, and that should be adhered to on a daily basis.
Poor connectivity among telecommunication network is having a negative impact on economic activity for the people of Doninga in the Busa South district of the Upper East region. Residents have to commute to a single spot to be able to communicate with their families. At a deba of chiefs and people of Doninga, the divisional chief of Doninga, Nab Adila Akanbon, was also not happy about the destruction of farm produce by cattle owned by some herdsmen.
The annual Deba, organized by the chiefs and people of Doninga, serves as a platform to help nurse the available human and material resources to support the Busa South District Assembly. Sons and daughters of the area were reminded of the developmental challenges confronting the area in terms of health, education, agriculture, security, roads, among others. The Deba showcased the rich cultural heritage of the area. Speaker after speaker complained about the deplorable state of roads leading to Doninga, which stalls economic progress. The bad nature of the road also increases travel time for market women in the area. The divisional chief of Doninga, Nab Atab Nueng Adila Akambinab Akambong, through his spokesperson, Mr. Resel Akambong, charged cattle owners in the area to ensure that their animals go about their grazing without destroying people's farms.
Henceforth, offending cattle owners shall be liable to pay punitive fines for their actions or inactions in order to promote peaceful coexistence.
The DCE for Busa South, Daniel Kwame Gariba, reiterated government's commitment in addressing the pressing challenges confronting the people in the area and the district at large. The MP for Busa South constituency, Dr. Clement Park, expressed worry over the high level of migration among the youth in the area to the southern part of the country to seek for non-existent jobs.
If we are able to establish a meaningful dam, it would serve as a conduit to create employment opportunities, because the young men and women in the dry season would have no reason to migrate to the southern parts of this country.
Other speakers at the event expressed their appreciation to the people for the prevailing peace in the area and urged them to work hard to sustain it for accelerated development.
Now to a special report for the day. It has many natural resources which should ordinarily make indigents worthy, but the narrative on this side of town is different. The people here are poor simply because they are unable to trade properly in bigger cities or surrounding communities to make a decent living. Being a farming and fishing community, most of their produce goes bad and so they run at a loss. This is the story of Agyan, a small community in the western region, and their request for change. My colleague Beatrice Senaju has more.
As I prepared to make the trip to the western region, I began researching for areas of interest. So Agyan it was. It popped up as one of the communities. And knowing virtually nothing about it, I had to prepare as best as I could. Unfortunately, the information online was not helpful, so Google Maps provided its exact location. It put it somewhere along the western coastline. Armed with information, my team and I hit the road for the adventure. It was a smooth 9-hour journey to Axim Junction and another 1 hour to Agyan village. Our shaky shots are enough proof of the deplorable roads. This brought to mind how the inhabitants, especially farmers and drivers, commute to the market centers with their produce. Within an hour, the team arrived at our final destination. I stepped onto the street, hoping to catch some interesting sights. To my dismay, everything looked stale. Agyan is a fishing and farming community in the western region with about 700 residents. From history, the town was named after a tree located there known as Agyan. The people migrated from Mori in the central region and settled here over 10 decades ago. The people speak Fanti, Nzima, and Chi. Agyan is surrounded on one side by the sea and the other by a forest cover. It has a scattered settlement with beautiful rock formation at vantage points near the sea. This particular forest cover, I'm told, is a sacred place for the indigenes. They believe their ancestors have been their backbone over the years.
No boapa nana nyamsuna benti omo nchake no enti ye wo hia mpo one for more almost 10 years dem to ya man aduane da ka to Agyan ba ko 6 million one you know 2008 nam ka twe ya de mano that year no anam o chiro ha onya.
Fishermen here set off on their fishing expedition, often at dawn, and return in the evening. This is where brisk business begins. I had a chat with these fishermen, and they tell me their fishing business is gradually dipping, and this is adversely affecting them every day.
We used to have a bumper harvest when we went fishing, but things have changed in recent times.
These days, when we go fishing, we catch a lot of seaweed. This is taking a toll on our pockets.
Residents of Agyan are also actively involved in agriculture, with their focus being on rubber. With all these possible areas of making a living, youth unemployment is high in the community. The few that are engaged in agriculture are thinking of making a switch due to the many challenges in the sector. They complain bitterly about post-harvest losses.
We have a lot of cassava here, but no one buys it. We sometimes reduce the price to get something small.
We need loans to start something new because the fishing business is no longer lucrative. With the rubber cultivation, it takes years to get value for money.
With the poor roads here, traders, farmers, teachers, nurses and drivers say they are all negatively affected. Massa Yakubu is a driver. He plies the Agyan road every day and shares his experience on a rainy day.
It is difficult transporting the teachers to the school on a rainy day. The motorbikes they rely on always tip over, so teachers are unable to teach on rainy days.
The community has a long list of challenges. High on it is the issue of tidal waves in recent times. According to inhabitants, many have already been forced to abandon their homes and livelihoods due to the devastating nature of the waves.
The sea has taken over half of our buildings.
There are other challenges.
From Agyan to Axim, so Apanwa.
In times of emergency, it is difficult getting a vehicle to the nearest town due to the bad roads. In the rainy season, the rainwater covers the road. We need help.
Say you call a rain season time cry, you should to try cover Carapano.
Our produce often go bad because we are unable to cut them to the market to sell. We need the routes fixed.
SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities has various targets in improving the livelihoods of many rural communities. One of these is to enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization and capacity for participatory, integrated and sustainable human settlement planning and management in all countries. For many, taking the box on this goal will help make life easier, including those living in Agyan. Their daily prayer is to see change from change agents like NGOs and philanthropists to help develop their town so they too can have a comfortable life. Beatrice Sanaju, GBC News, Agyan.
You're watching News Hour live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. The Ghana Young Men Christian Association, under its Youth Justice Project, has supported the Senior Correction Center of the Ghana Prison Service with PPE and other medical equipment. This is to ensure that inmates adhere to the COVID-19 safety protocols and also prevent their health and improve health at the center.
The items presented include face masks, sanitizers, detergents, first aid kits and bags of rice, gallon of oil, drinks and biscuits. Officials of the Senior Correctional Center expressed gratitude to the YMCA and its Swedish counterparts for the gesture. Donations were also made to the Junior Girls Correctional Center and the Shelter for Abused Children and Boys Remand Home at Laboni. The items presented include boxes of sanitary pads, sewing machines, sewing accessories and fabrics. Food items and detergents were also presented to the center. An officer at the center, Madam Cynthia Asamoah, received the items on behalf of the center. The executive director of the Ghana Young Men Christian Association, YMCA, Mr. Kwabna Nketiah, during the presentations, said it is important for stakeholders who play significant roles in ensuring the protection and securing the welfare of young people, particularly at various correctional centers, to contribute to make the facilities truly correctional, to ensure young detainees are truly transformed after leaving these centers. The Youth Justice Project is an initiative of the Ghana YMCA and the YMCA Sweden, and is aimed at promoting active citizenship through strengthening the resilience of young people in conflict with the law, young people at risk with the law, and young ex-detainees.
Breathe a back shortly, please, this day.
Thanks for staying on. This segment of the news is brought to you by MTN and Whirlpool. Border closures, travel bans and global movement restrictions in 2020 during the peak of the pandemic heavily affected the cocoa processing company's operation. Huge volumes of its semi-finished cocoa products worth $20.8 million earmarked for exports got locked up in the warehouse, thus compelling buyers to cancel orders. The board chairman of the company, Mr. Kweku Owusuban, disclosed this at this year's annual general meeting in Accra.
Since 1965, the cocoa processing company Tema has been processing raw cocoa into chocolates and other confectionaries. CPC took a syndicated loan of $20 million to expand processing infrastructure from 34,500 metric tons to 64,500 metric tons per annum.
The company, however, had no working capital to buy cocoa beans to process in order to generate revenue to pay back the loans. Following a comprehensive comparative analysis of the cost structure, the current board and management of CPC brought the company back to winning ways. At the annual general meeting, the board chairman of Cocoa Processing Company, Mr. Kweku Owusuba, disclosed that Cocoa Processing Company for the year 2019 and 2020 incurred $18.6 million loss. As a result of such operational losses, the company was unable to pay dividends to the shareholders for the 2019 and 2020 year.
Ladies and gentlemen, these financial developments, coupled with the impact of the pandemic and operational challenges, impacted negatively on our financials, leading to an annual loss position of $18.6 million. But if you take note, these were not cash expenditures that we undertook. It is the re-evaluation of equipment. That meant that we had to make more allocation for depreciation. It was also the re-evaluation of the cocoa board loan. That meant that our financial costs went up without necessarily spending money per se.
Explaining the losses, the managing director of CPC, Dr. Nana Jenin Boateng, said CPC is looking at entering into new markets in Africa and Qatar to shore up their revenue base.
So the current output of CPC is about 30%. Though we have 64,500, we are doing about 24. So what we're going to do is that this 86.7, which was last year 70, and which we said they should rectify it at 86.7, is that now we're getting it with the bankers, and then we use 35.137 as a capex to retool and replace our facilities. What we want to do is to increase the confectionery line from 3 to 15,000, which we started. Then the production side of the semi-finished also will retool and replace the age pass and get that side of 57,000.
The shareholders gave the directors the mandate to raise funds beyond the company's stated capital.
As of January 2021, one needed 5 cedis, 80 pesos, to exchange for $1. However, by the close of December 2021, the depreciation of the cedi had hit 6 cedis, 20 pesos to the dollar. Forest market operators in the capital of Accra say business sentiment in 2022 is high, but the Bank of Ghana needs to ensure that the supply of the greenback onto the forest markets is steadied to avoid the slippages witnessed in the third quarter in 2021.
The cedi, according to the Bloomberg survey, lost 4.98% in value against the dollar in 2021, although data from other research institutions show a slightly lower decline in value of the local currency to the dollar. However, in West Africa, the cedi placed third in terms of performance due to an amalgamation of factors, which include increasing corporate demand for the dollar and the exit of some foreign investors from the country's bond market, putting pressure on the local currency in the last 2 months of the year. Again, importation of goods during the final part of the year by traders to sell during the Christmas period increased the demand for the dollar. Despite a rebound in oil prices among others, the dollar inflows were not enough to stabilize the local currency. The chief executive of Citi Main Forex Bureau, Apostle Opon Opokwe Champon, said the performance of the cedi in the first and second quarters of 2021 was impressive, but not the third quarter.
Actually, the performance of the cedi was not all that bad yet, but when it was getting to the latter part of the year, I think the cedi performed abysmal. It was not all that good.
He said COVID-19 has affected the cedi and the Forex Bureau business in general.
The COVID is not helping us because the patronage is very low. We normally comes to business, open up our businesses, but the people that are coming with the dollars and other stuff, they don't come in as they used to be. So we are thinking of if there's going to be a capital injection, if the Bank of Ghana is going to help the bureaus with the foreign currencies, so that we can also sell to the customers. Because if we are depending on those that come in with the daily dollars is becoming a problem for us, the Forex bureaus. The COVID came to change a lot of things now, and business are done via the internet and that stuff. So we are also looking for a way to not to get out of business, but to be in business.
He explained why the city was under intense pressure as the year came to an end.
The demands was higher than what was in the system, and it's normal when it's getting to this Christmas, the demand for the dollar and the other currencies, because people will be going out to bring stuff in. So is a much of the money looking for more of the dollars. So that's what made it the prices to rocket.
Meanwhile, on the African continent, the Zambian kwacha was the best performing currency in 2021, followed by the Angolan kwanza and Mozambique's metical. In September 2021, the Ghana cedi slipped one place to the 9th position out of the 15th top African currencies. In August, the cedi was ranked 8th among Africa's top currencies with a depreciation of 1.30% to the US dollar and ended the year with 3.93% depreciation to the dollar. On the outlook, the cedi is expected to hold on onto its own in 2022, but analysts say more will depend upon the strategy the Bank of Ghana will deploy to ensure that demand will not outweigh supply. Dorothy Ajaman, GBC News, Accra.
And that'll be all for the business segments brought to you by MTN and Whirlpool.